What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Hogwarts Legacy's Director's Cut, Definitive Edition, whatever it ends up being called. I want to talk about that game at the Game Awards, another video in my series where I look at some games and talk about whether they will be or won't be there. Now, obviously, these are predictions. Take it with a grain of salt. It's literally just me kind of riffing for a few minutes, but gotta be honest, right? Well, number one, of the 3 games that I've done so far on this kind of series, I actually probably feel the best on Hogwarts, and we'll kind of go over it as to why, as this video goes. I actually think just in general, I got maybe like 3, 4, 5 other types of these videos planned, and actually, I don't know, like the way it's shaping out now, it is a lot of trust in rumors, right? So like, okay, well, what are we talking about? Well, it's seemingly we're talking about this director's cut type thing, a Ghost of Tsushima, Icky Island, if you will. We're talking about this expansion to Hogwarts Legacy, rumor has it, where it'll add, 10, 15, 20 hours of story. It'll have some side games or side missions, or even actually maybe literally like mini games in the game, and it'll be like a actual thing, maybe even, I mentioned Icky Island, and there's been a lot of director's cuts that have released over the last 2-3 years, but maybe more, I don't know for sure, but maybe even like an Elden Ring type thing. Like Shadow of the Erdtree was so big, $40 in its own standalone thing. I do think this would be more attached than that would be, but 20, 30 bucks, maybe somewhere around that range. Now, the reason why I'm describing it maybe so well, hopefully it's well, is because we've heard so much about it, right? And we've heard it from some of the best insiders, right? As opposed to other games, even that I've covered, on this channel that I might get excited about just at the prospect that they happen. Something like this has been covered from the biggest people in the industry in terms of, leakers, right? The Tom Hendersons of the world, the Jason Schreiers. Honestly, those are actually the top 2. So, and when they both talk about it, I very much listen, right? We first heard about this, I think, back in June when Jason Schreier was writing up articles for Suicide Squad and, what the future of Rocksteady is. And he kind of just throws it in there as like an afterthought. Yeah, they're working on like a director's cut type thing, extra content for Hogwarts Legacy. Now, the game's been updated here and there, but we're talking about a full-on package. So, okay, well, that's the catch-up. Now, why do I think it's at the Game Awards? I just feel like this is a perfect spot. And maybe PlayStation has something to do here. Maybe not, right? Like they did have marketing rights to an extent for Hogwarts Legacy. Now, and I say to an extent because sometimes it did show up with them. And if you remember when they revealed it, it was at a PlayStation event, PlayStation Showcase. But if you remember, actually, they did a thing at Gamescom. I think they did a few things on their own as well. I don't know how the marketing thing like actually worked, if it was like 75% PlayStation and then WB could do their own stuff here and there, because it was kind of scattered, especially towards the end. So that is important because it's like, okay, well, do you have to wait until a state of play or until a showcase? Do you have to wait until a PlayStation event to see something like this versus the Game Awards? I just feel, I don't know. Hogwarts, I believe, was nominated a few times last year. I did it maybe only win one thing, or maybe it didn't win at all. I remember it was kind of a big controversy at the time for, one of the higher selling games of 2023. But at the same time, it is a big name, right? So I throw that in because it's like, well, it kind of got snubbed. Maybe you think it got snubbed at the Game Awards, and you could say, well, would Jeff Keighley allow it to be there? Well, if they pitch it to him, I would say it's such a big game and so many eyes are just on it in general. And if you can have it be there, some of the I talked about, I believe, Resident Evil already, in this series of videos, and I got a couple other games I want to do next weekend, and there's some really big names, at least in my head, that I can think of as potentials, right? Hogwarts Legacy, though, 25, 30, 35 million units sold. I don't actually know if it gets much bigger than Hogwarts besides Elden Ring, besides GTA, Red Dead, like Rockstar, and then FromSoft, and maybe Call of Duty, right? Like those are the things over the last 2 years that have proven to be at the same level or bigger than Hogwarts. So, I really think the Game Awards and Hogwarts is a match made in heaven. And, actually, I just said it just kind of quickly earlier, like it has been a Jeff Keighley event. It was at Gamescom, back, I believe, in 2022, August of 22, and I think it was the Dark Arts trailer trailer leading it with Sebastian, all that stuff, leading into Hogwarts releasing in the following year. So they've done it before with Jeff Keighley. WB's done it like all the time, right? They've done things like Mortal Kombat. They did Wonder Woman years ago. And, even this idea of Hogwarts at the Game Awards was really birthed by me talking about Wonder Woman, where I think Wonder Woman makes a lot of sense. But to be honest, and the kind of the final thing I want to talk about, what's one reason why it could be at the Game Awards? Well, actually, there's a couple. Number one, we've heard about it so much, so I do believe it's real. I mean, that just kind of creates it, right? Number two, I would say the closeness, like which WB game is the next game to come out, right? And in my opinion, like you might say Wonder Woman if you forgot that this thing was a thing. Because I really think, if you think about it, you're not releasing a director's cut, definitive edition, whatever. You're not releasing it 2.5, 3 years after the base game. The base game comes out. And this February, literally just a couple months away from right now, is 2 years. If you can believe that. It's been 2 years since Hogwarts Legacy released. So I truly believe that the next game up from WB, the next game that's going to make them significant money, is not Wonder Woman. It's actually the definitive edition or whatever you're going to call it for Hogwarts Legacy. So, by priority of what comes first, I think it's Hogwarts. By viewership and just how big it is, it's Hogwarts. I just think it makes a lot of sense. I think the only thing that kind of gets in the way is, does PlayStation have something to do with it or not? I mean, if they don't, it's actually much easier, right? But I don't know. Like I said earlier, I have a good feeling. I have no inside, info, knowledge, nothing like that. But I honestly, at this point, would kind of be surprised if it wasn't there. I just feel, again, I don't know, because it's a DLC, in a sense, it's a DLC to the base game. You're not talking about the biggest thing of all time, okay? I still think, like I talked about Resident Evil yesterday, today, whenever that video went up. I think an RE9 announcement is bigger than this. But that's only because that's a base game to this being a DLC. A Hogwarts Legacy 2 is bigger than 99% of the industry. It just is. That's just a factual truth. Doesn't have to mean it's better. It just means it's bigger, right? So I don't know. I think this is a very solid, B tier of announcements. Like an RE might be a high one. There's a couple other games we'll talk about next week that are would be really high. I feel like if you do a Hogwarts, even DLC announcement, you're talking about you're not talking about a small tier or a BC tier. You're probably not talking about the biggest thing that you're going to be walking away from the event talking about it. We will be talking about it. Maybe not the entire industry. And again, maybe that's more RE9 and other games. But I feel like it kind of fits into that Jeff Keighley formula of looking for some really big games, looking for some medium type games, looking for some small games. I think this fits in that kind of middle category. So again, just my thoughts. I don't know if I would say I'm expecting it. You set up expectations. It tends to be disappointing at the end of the day. So I don't know about that. But I just have a good feeling. I don't know. I won't cry. I promise you this. I won't cry if it doesn't get announced, but I am kind of thinking it's going to happen. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and hope to see you all on the next one.